Hello, I want to welcome everybody to our
First
first
section.
episode of Death and Dollars. And we're going to start all the way in Argentina. And we're going to start with Virginia de la Fuente. I have a horrible Spanish accent. I can't say it. But Virginia, you want to say your full name?
Sure. Hi, Taylor. How are you doing? I'm Virginia de la Fuente, and yes, I'm from Argentina, and I'm so happy to be here.
And we are actually going to talk about a fascinating story. I learned a ton because Virginia introduced this to me. I want you to tell us a little bit about what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, today we're going to talk about a very well-known person that it's Diego Armando Maradona. He was one of the most popular soccer players in Argentina. So he was born on 1960 in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is the capital city of Argentina. He was born in a place that everybody used to play soccer since they were littles, and he was always very good at what he's doing at playing soccer. So
I want to get an understanding because most Americans aren't big into soccer. He is like the Michael Jordan of
exactly,
soccer.
yes,
Well,
that's
Messi may have taken that title, but
right.
there's arguments of who's better.
Unfortunately, Argentina have the best football players in the history. That's something particular. Soccer here in Argentina is very popular. Everybody plays soccer. So when Maradona started, his first step on this sport, he get into the first club that it's Boca Juniors, that it's as well a very well known, team here in Argentina. So during that time, his performance was amazing. So then he, some European club tried to take him to Europe. So he started playing in Italy. So it was a very small place in Italy. It's on Naples. And he became super success during that time. As well, his personal life was always kind of messy, let's say it, something like that.
Most athletes, they have messy personal lives.
Right.
You don't really know about it, but they're very popular with the ladies. And so that usually causes a lot of problems.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was one of the big problems. But as well, he was struggling with drug addictions. But at that time, he got married with Claudia Villafañe, that it's at that moment the mother of his two daughters. But at the same time, when he was in Italy, another lady, an Italian lady named Christina, was claiming for the paternity of another child, that is Diego Jr. So since then, he was starting this battle, for reclaiming paternity from himself.
So his actual first kid
Mhm.
did not come from his wife, Claudia. It came from his, I guess
Christina. She is Christina. She's Italian lady, and Diego Jr. was born before Dalma and Giannina, that they are from his marriage. So he is the first child of Diego. But he spent like years trying to be recognized from his father, and finally he finally did it. So Maradona recognized Diego Jr. as his son. After that, he went back to Europe, and then he ended up being, a soccer training on Dubai. And in the meanwhile, he have, several relationships with different persons here in Argentina, in another, part of the world. So during this time, he start, getting properties and different kind of assets in different places of the world. So probably the last 10 years, something came up that he have another child with, that it's the little one here, that it's Diego Jr., Diego Fernando. And during that time, at the same time that this baby was born, another girl, Hannah, was claiming for paternity from him. So at the end of this, he ended up having like 5 children on his own, and they are recognized. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, Maradona started struggling with more, health conditions, and finally end up dying and passing away on October 2020. So since then, there was a huge, battle for his state. So some people think that there's any assets left. There's no money involved on this. Even more because his attorney was also taking care of his state.
Financial advisors in the United States take care of people's money, not attorneys. I mean, you could have an attorney, but really in Argentina, is it like that? Do you guys have financial advisors or is it mostly just attorneys?
No, mostly attorneys or accountants are the ones are providing, financial advising. And it's not common that, we have like a financial plan. People don't used to do that as well. People don't used to create wills for, preventing or assigning beneficiaries for when their time comes. So that's one
Or
of the main differences between US and Argentina's probate processes.
why in Argentina do people not create will? I mean, he never created a will, right?
No, unfortunately, no. And that's probably one of the most, the point of why now this probate process is going to take a long time. There's so many, people involved claiming for part of his inherited. So that would be a solution for this. If he did a trust or a will, he would able to avoid all these problems that they are handling at this moment.
And why do you think in Argentina, why is it that people, because you told me earlier, that it's just not very common for people to do it in Argentina?
No, it's not. It's not common that people do wills. Nowadays, like I told you before, we were having a quick conversation. It's very popular that people start, instead of going through under probate, that it's a long process that costs a lot of money, and they start doing donations during their lifetime. So they assign the beneficiaries for, who they want to get the assets for them, so they can avoid on that process the probate.
So why wouldn't people do it? Like, is it just like culturally not acceptable?
Yeah, I think at this point it's something cultural. You have common law and we have a different civil code. So probably we are not used to do that. And as well, it's very relative on how we perceive the time that we're not going to be here anymore. So people try to avoid that time or thinking ahead, right? So I think
Yeah.
in states, people are more conscious about what my son or my daughter, how they are going to handle everything. If they have a property or if they have a business, how they're going to handle it. Here, people are more, used to, first of all, work on their companies and not providing probably the space for, the other generations getting charged. So probably something of
How does the court, we call it in the United States, intestate succession. When you don't have a will, you don't create anything, then we, under state law of Texas, where I'm at, state legislature creates the distribution that will happen.
that.
So every state in the United States has a different distribution scheme. What's the distribution scheme in Argentina? How do they do it? If you pass away and let's say you're married with two kids, how does your
Yes.
property get distributed?
I mean, that's something as well different. As you know, here in Argentina, you can just take a portion of your assets. You cannot leave your kids out from your, I mean, from the perspective way of you have to leave them something to them, right?
Yeah, you can't
So
disinherit them. That's what we say.
disinherited, forced inherited. Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say, because I think that in the States it's different. Here, we protect at least a portion of that inherited to the direct descent of the person who passed away.
So even if you create a will, so if I create a will and said, I want to cut out one of my kids, the court
Right.
says no, like you pass away, no, that kid will get something. Doesn't mean
Exactly.
they will get everything, but they will get something. They get a share of the estate.
Exactly. That's how it works down here. You have to leave at least a part of your assets, your son, if you don't have a son, to your wife, or so on, the relatives in your family. But there's a portion of your assets that it has to be guaranteed that goes to that family.
And that's basically the idea there, is to protect, the family, so people don't get screwed over, I guess is the best way to put it. Is, you get somebody has a little kid and then they don't want to leave assets too.
Sometimes it's controversial. What I see, the good part on the states, if you are the owner of your assets, you can do whatever you want, right? But here, it's not the same way, and sometimes people doesn't want to leave, that portion to certain persons. So what I consider, it's the system. It doesn't mean that it's fair or not. But what it's fair, it's if you want to decide what your assets are going to be with, you have the right to decide. So that's from my just personal perspective, right?
Let's jump back to Maradona's situation here, because so he doesn't do a will. He's now
No,
passed away, and there's what did they think his estate is worth? Like, how much assets does he have?
they say around $40 million. So
Okay.
it's a lot of money that it's involved. More, even more, he has a brand, right? Registered. So everything that says Maradona, it's money here, right?
Wow.
So every day, if the I think that they are developing like he have wines, he have clothes, everything that have the name of Maradona, it represent money. So I think that now that he's not here, that he already passed away, is making more money than when he was alive on his last time.
So and now, because he doesn't have a will, so you have five that are
We
for
know.
sure, and then three more that are maybes. But I guess the court there is going to decide. Coming from an America, it's very easy for us to find the heirs when you don't have a will, when they're children, because we just do DNA tests. What's up with these three? Why don't we know? It's been almost 4 years.
Right. Here in Argentina, everything that has to go under, a legal process take time, like a lot of time. So probably these persons are requesting the DNA for these kids, and the system it's taking this amount of time to get together everything and start doing those tests. But everything, it's a matter of time, money, and interested. Even politically talking, there's always different kind of interested involved.
Yeah, I don't know if you know the answer to this because it's a very specific legal question. But
I'm not
okay,
an
if you,
attorney.
I know. So I want, maybe just from experience. So uh, if in America we don't care if a man recognizes a child or not. Women, you know all your kids. There's no
Of course.
way around that. But men, in America, we no longer, of course, before DNA tests, we took a lot, like were you the husband, things like that were important because we can prove if someone's really the kid of somebody. Now we can with DNA evidence. So we don't care if a dad is not involved at all in the kid's life. In Argentina, has the law evolved that way where, hey, if these other three are found to be biological kids, they're going to inherit the same as the other ones, or will they be treated differently?
I think that that's the main problem here. That's the main issue that they are trying to. Of course, the right thing is every kid receive the same amount of part of that inherited, but now it's something that suddenly he's having kids all around the world, and they are these kids that are recognized. Of course, they are fighting for their rights that they deserve like more from the others. So that's, I think, the inside battle that this person is handling now. But like you said, it's not fair, but it's taking this time to process everything. I know that the legal process here in Argentina take a long time, and it's like a lot of things involved, like I said, during these processes. Even more with Maradona, that it's the most popular person in Argentina. So, the media, the newspapers, everything is talking about this nowadays, and everybody's giving opinions. And, it's very difficult to handle things like this, even from the legal perspective, because there's, also the people always have an opinion about that. So, when it's something very popular, everybody start having like their own conception about the situation, and that's impossible. That doesn't impact on the general way of thinking.
Now, after we have the whole issue of who's going to inherit, that's a big issue.
Yes.
But the other issue right now is people kind of don't understand, what's called probate. When someone passes away, there's a time period where people, there's an administrator put in charge to handle the estate, to distribute it to the heirs.
Mhm.
And there's been some issues going on in that administration. So tell a little bit about what's
Right.
happened in this administration.
Right, that's exactly the difference between US and here. It's that the person who passed can assign an executor of the will, or if they have a trust, they can assign a trustee as well. Here, it's different. The state, it's the one who has to assign an administrator. So that take times and also take money, because you need representation, and those things make the probate process even harder here in Argentina, because it takes time to the judge assign the person who is going to be the one who is going to administrate that inherited. Different from you, if they have a will, they will have a person who they already know it's going to be the executor.
Who is his administrator?
His attorney was in charge of handling everything about his financials, also about his, medical condition. And also here in Argentina, there's another trial about why he passed away, on the way he passed away. So many different things going on under this case that everybody's so concerned. I can tell you a little story about this. When Maradona passed away, it was 25th of November of 2020. Argentina was closed. We were closed for a year, right? So anybody can get into the country or get out of the country. It was horrible how our government managed the pandemic. But the day that Maradona passed away, it was shock all over the world. And they allowed people, journalists from all over the world, to come to Argentina and cover the funeral and everything. So it was something so big that at that time that everything was closed, they suddenly opened the country, and everybody was allowed to come in. So I'm just telling you this to let you know how important he was for Argentinian people, and for especially Italian people, and so many people around the world. So that's why I think this probate process, that it's with Maradona case, it's going to take a few years to figure out what is going on. And
Well, I saw that one thing, like apparently he owes like 40 million, or allegedly owes 40 million in taxes while he lived in Italy that he never paid, allegedly.
Exactly.
And so he has, the administrator of the estate has to handle all of that. I can't imagine how difficult this is going to be, because you not only have everything that has to be dealt with in Argentina.
Mhm.
He was big time soccer player in Europe. So he has assets there that have to be dealt with.
Exactly.
He has a name brand that's, how do you continue that to go on, that has to be dealt with, but not just in Argentina, but I believe I saw something about how the EU had to deal with his brand on something. And apparently he has a bunch of memorabilia that's everywhere, trophies and different things.
Yeah,
That
even
people are
we
going
have
to
a
sell.
museum here. Right.
And
Yes. People said that his ex-wife have a museum with T-shirts and everything, trophies that cost millions of dollars. So, and that it's under his ex-wife. His ex-wife have that. But that's also part of his inherited, because cost a lot of millions of dollars. So, and she have it. So one more time, everything. It's a battle between, ex-partners that he has. So it's something big. And I think that Argentina has to deal with this from the legal perspective. And if he owns taxes and everything, this is going to be something big for people try to understand. If you are famous and you have a lot of assets, how to prevent all these things, right? As well, Maradona was a person who had, I guess, bad influences at that time. So he didn't get related with the right persons. But nowadays, it's, everything is different. Social media make things that everybody knows what is happening. So I think that he was a great, great football player. But at that part, he wasn't very involved on that matters. So
Well, when you're that famous and that big, he should not have been handling all this. That's if uh, I don't know who his attorney is, but if his attorney wasn't getting this organized and put together during his life, that's a huge fail. The fact that the court allowed a man that did almost nothing to organize his estate,
mhm.
like he should have, to then become the administrator of the estate, that's a huge problem in my books, because it's like these businesses should have already been set up. They should have already been organized under certain things. His brand should have been consolidated, heirs identified. Definitely, if a trust could have been created in some way, clearly identifying who his children are during his lifetime, and getting everything prepared. Because like right now, really, who's going to benefit from all this are lawyers. Lawyers are going
Exactly.
to keep suing.
I think that's true, Taylor. And I think that the point of this managed situation, it's because there's a lot of money involved. So attorneys wants to take their part, everybody around him. At the end of his life, he was a lonely person, and it was sad. I mean, to see him on that way, talking about physically and mentally, and you can realize that he was lonely, and everybody who was around him was trying to see how they can keep a part of the cake, right?
Mhm.
So you're saying if you are not prepared things on the right way, if you don't have the right legal advice from that perspective, things are going to go, on the wrong way. Everybody and not your family are going to get, the assets or all your memories from who belongs, his kids or her family.
Do you think they're going to make any changes to probate systems and how they function?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that our new president, he's already doing so many changes in the system. We are having a hard time now, but when you try to put things together on the right way, it's not easy. Even sometimes it's harder than it was, but it's the right way to do it. And yes, now he present to the Congress a new law. They call it omnibus law, that it's intent to simplify the topic in order to people or encourage people to do things to organize everything on their end. So yes, one of the things, there's a lot of things to do in Argentina in order to set everything on the proper way. And from the legal perspective, there's so much more. So I think that this person is trying, because it's not easy to come up with so many different politics in a short period of time. But I think that one more time, from my perspective, he will, if he can approve this law, it's going to be better for everybody.
Well, that's good. All right, Virginia. Well, thank you so much for sharing us about what happens in Argentina and
Right,
sharing us this awesome story with Maradona and
Maradona.
how his
Yes,
situation.
and I think what the last story that it's hilarious, he won the one of the soccer games by a very controversial goal, because it was a game against England. As you know, England and Argentina were feuding Malvinas, that is a portion of Argentina's territory. So Argentina was playing the one soccer game with England. So it was very tough time because of the situation. And Maradona did a goal with his hand. And from there, they call it the hand of God. So he's well known as the hand of God because he did that goal with a hand,
Yeah.
and we won the game. So it was very particular. Everybody knows that he did it with a hand, but the referee said it was goal, and it was goal. But honestly, we call it the hand of God.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you, Taylor. See you. Bye bye.